You're listening to the Fan2Fan Podcast, and on this episode, we're doing a bit more horror trivia. That's right, Fright or Fiction, the Subtitle Showdown. Here we go.
Recorded in front of a live studio audience.
Welcome to Fan2Fan Podcast presents Fright or Fiction, the Subtitle Showdown. We're talking the real deal, folks. Sequels with bold, sometimes bonkers subtitles, and specifically the subtitles that kept these franchises going and going and going. You know what I'm talking about? Forget Slumber Party Massacre 2 that couldn't even bother with a colon. We're talking Gremlins 2, The New Batch, Halloween, The Curse of Michael Myers, and Nightmare on Elm Street 3, The Dream Warriors, because in the world of horror, the sequels are never really the end. And before we get started, let's introduce our contestant, Pete Charbonneau.
Thanks a lot. Great to be here, Gene. Excited to continue my streak. The last episode, I did my little intro, said that I was a bank teller from Burbank, California, mentioned some of my hobbies. Since that last episode, lost my job at the bank. So I just want to say I'm Peter Charbonneau, and I am an assistant PE coach from Burbank, California.
Round of applause from our studio audience. Let's welcome back Pete. And this time we're mixing the holidays with some grisly murders, Silent Night, Deadly Night, a franchise. Then by the time they get to the fourth movie, Garbage Day, we start getting into a world of killer Santas and everything in between. As the rules of the game show, one of these titles, Pete, is correct. The other two are bogus. Hopefully, you don't get some coal in your stocking. Silent Night, Deadly Night 4, Initiation. Silent Night, Deadly Night 4, Blood Christmas. Or Silent Night, Deadly Night 4, Cult of the Claws.
Cult of the Claws? Oh, like Santa Claus. I got it. Yeah, this is another series that I'm not very familiar with other than the first two. I figure like the third sequel is a good time to introduce like a cult of someone. So I'll just throw it out there. Cult of the Claws.
Unfortunately, the legitimate title is the most boring one, Silent Night, Deadly Night 4, Initiation. Came out in 1990.
A bizarre event.
This would make a great story.
For her, it was the chance of a lifetime.
I work for the LAI. I'm an investigative reporter. There's got to be some logical explanation for the burning.
But some questions
Get away from me! Leave me alone!
are better left unanswered.
What happened? Are you all right? Ah! The woman who jumped. She was my daughter. But now you've come to take her place.
Make your fear real. Get it out.
It's the night you've been waiting for.
Please,
Kill the man. Become a whole woman.
The night you've been screaming for.
this is the final step.
Silent Night, Deadly Night 4, Initiation.
You're one of us now.
Join the club.
I reject the whole premise of the show and the question just because of that initiation. Forget it.
Cult of the Claws just sounds so much fun. Blood Christmas just feels a little too obvious. Initiation series gets very wacky. Isn't this just supposed to be the Killer Santa movie?
Do you have any idea like what the initiation of the title suggests? Like, is this about initiation into being like a mall Santa, or?
I think it's about initiating. Moving on to the next question, Pete, because the less we talk about Silent Night, Deadly Night, the better. And let's go to some parental figures, specifically stepfathers. So the first stepfather followed a maniac who infiltrates families, poses as the perfect husband and father before things turn a little violent. The sequel continues that murderous pursuit of the ideal family, and maybe it doesn't work out so well for some of these families in Stepfather 2, potential titles being Make Room for Daddy, Blood Ties, or Father Knows Best.
See, my heart wants to go with Father Knows Best just because like it's a good subversion of like the 50s or 60s, whatever decade that show was in. And again, I mean, you've done a masterful job, Bernie, of picking the franchises that I know next to nothing about, with the exception of The Howling, which I know more than I should. Let's go Father Knows Best. Come on, because it's an accurate statement sometimes.
Not this time, Pete. It would be Stepfather 2, Make Room for Daddy.
Find a wife to call your own daddy, daddy. Give the kids a happy home. Daddy's come to play.
You will never
Find a better family man than me.
Stepfather 2,
Make room for daddy.
coming to a theater near you.
Daddy's home.
That actually, Pete, might have been a more interesting title than Make Room for Daddy. It's so weird.
Sounds like we got a sequel to write.
That's right. Have you seen any of the Stepfather movies?
I have not seen any of them in their entirety. Like it's weird memory. My mom rented the first Stepfather. My mom was not a horror fan. It's lodged in my brain for a reason because I remember seeing the VHS cassette in our home, and I'm like who the hell rented this? Thinking that it was probably my brother, but he didn't. And my mom's like, oh, I rented it, and I'm like, really? Unless it was something that went over my head or that I missed at the time when it came out, that there was like some crossover appeal that lent it to be more like a thriller, like Fatal Attraction or something like that. Like how it got on my mom's radar or who suggested my mom rent it, I don't know. No clue. But I do remember that happening. And I never watched any of them.
I always remember just seeing the VHS with Terry O'Quinn because he was the main actor, at least in the first two films. There might be more. I'm not sure. I did see Meg Foster is in Stepfather 2, and in reading some of the synopses for it, it basically stars with Terry O'Quinn having survived, and he ends up escaping from his mental institution, which just reminded me a lot for a movie that was released in 1989, a later 90s movie, The Dentist 2. Mm-hmm. It basically had like the same premise where the dentist survives the first movie, goes into a mental institution, escapes in the first few minutes of the sequel. So, we can make more money off the franchise.
Is still allowed to practice dentistry.
And like takes the place of like another dentist. So it's kind of like, assuming that dentist's identity, but then like the homicidal tendencies kicked in. It seems like that's the same thing for Stepfather 2. Terry O'Quinn survives after being shot and stabbed, but escapes the mental institution. He takes on a new identity of a dead man and moves right into like a upscale neighborhood in LA. Hilarity and homicide ensues.
A stepfather, not once, but twice, to some soon-to-be terrorized kids and family.
Having seen none of the Stepfather movies, the best horror movies, I think, delve into primal fears and things that we're all afraid of. Like there's a lot of these movies that obviously take advantage of the fear of the dark and the unknown. There's something about like that idea of like, what's a stepfather? I think by its very nature, a step parent generally comes from a failed marriage. For whatever reason, that marriage didn't continue for reasons where it should not have continued whatsoever, whether it was mutual or what have you. So there's something about that idea that could be scary. It's just interesting, like you said, like, wow, someone saw that as a horror movie and not necessarily a thriller, because that's where my mind would go first. That idea of hoping that, well, maybe second time around, it'll work. Parents are in a better place. You met the right person. It's a better fit. It is what it is. But somebody said, oh, yeah, let's do that. And let's make with the slashy.
I can see it because, if you're trying to exploit something, again, like you kind of mentioned, like, what a fraught potentially, dynamic when you've got someone coming into a family dynamic with kids and like not trying to replace your father, but, here I am. And, you've got like a new person coming in as a role model potentially, and just, a figure of authority. And there's all those unknowns of like, I don't know this guy too well. Like he just kind of showed up and was dating my mom for a couple of months and now they're married. So I guess I got to go along with this. I mean, there's room to play there from a movie standpoint and like, kind of play on some of those fears. And Terry O'Quinn's a really good actor. So I have to imagine that the first one was probably fairly well received. I don't know I don't recall it doing much like box office wise, but that might have been one of those like sleeper video rental ones that just kind of, snuck up and made a bunch of money on a bunch of rentals.
Stepfather feels like it's ripe for gender swapping. You could have the stepmother. You could play around with this idea and make it as absurd as you want, because why not? In some ways, the further you go, the more absurd and ridiculous you go, the more fun the series could be.
Very true. So just doing a quick look up, it's considered a psychological horror film. So I think throwing the psychological at the front of it kind of gives like, hey, look at us elevating this movie into some category. Oh, made $31 million at the box office. So good for good old stepdad.
I hope Terry O'Quinn, I hope he bought a nice pool. I'm a stepfather too. And speaking of pools, is your pool turning into Creature from the Green Lagoon? Are the leaves rising up like the plants that ate the backyard? Don't let your summer fun turn into a nightmare on Splash Street. That's where Ghoul Be Gone Pool Cleaning Services come to the rescue. Our frightfully good team will banish dirt, grime, and algae so fast it's practically supernatural. Don't wait until your pool becomes the setting for the next slasher in the deep end. Call now, summon our team of water wizards. For a killer deal of just $49.99, we'll make your pool sparkle brighter than a vampire at dawn. And remember, nothing scarier than a filthy pool except missing out on this hauntingly good offer. Ghoul Be Gone Pool Cleaning Services, where the only thing dead is the dirt. All right, Pete, we're moving on to Prom Night. Prom Night 1 came out in 1980, 2 years after Jamie Lee Curtis made her debut as Scream Queen Laurie Strode in John Carpenter's
Little foray up north for a couple of Canadian horror films, along with
Terror Train, I believe.
Terror Train, yep, with David Copperfield.
That's right. Yes, that's right. Magician on a Train, a bunch of kids boozing it up. I think that was a New Year's party, right? I think for Terror Train.
Yep, you're correct.
So she went from the prom in 1980's Prom Night to the train, but the producers of Prom Night were not going to let that magical evening end, Pete, because they wanted to make more of them. This question is just for part 3. Mary Lou returns from beyond the grave, so now we're throwing in some supernatural elements to haunt Hamilton High. So now we get slashers, we get supernatural with some campy humor. And this is a direct follow-up to the cult favorite, at least from what the internet says. I might argue Prom Night 2. But Prom Night 3 supposedly had a subtitle, Pete, and one of these may be one of the options. Prom Night 3, Return to Hamilton High. Prom Night 3, The Last Kiss. Or Prom Night 3, The Dance of Death.
All 3 good titles. Do you know who also starred in Prom Night 2?
I do not.
Mentioned quite often on our podcast, none other than Canadian export Michael Ironsides.
Oh, love that for him. Okay. Did he play the principal, I have to imagine?
I haven't seen that one in many, many years, so I don't actually know. I just know that he's...
I'm thinking like, Prom Night 1, Leslie Nielsen was Jamie Lee Curtis's father, and after he decided to not do Prom Night 2, they went to Michael Ironside, and he was more than happy to make his way to the set.
Leading role for a character actor, gotta grab those when you can. Now, to go past like Prom Night 2, like no one really should be going to more than 2 proms in their life. Like if you got a junior prom, cool. Senior prom, obviously. If you start going like a guy that was probably like 26, 27 there with like one of your high school classmates, like, someone that's like a little too old to be going to those things, because
there was that one person that you could tell was a few years removed from graduation.
Had like a full mustache.
Yeah, maybe it made it a little awkward.
Yeah, we had a couple of those at my senior prom, I remember distinctly, and it's just, even at the time you're just kind of like, okay, so a little icky. So that just goes back to reaffirming my point that there probably shouldn't have been a Prom Night 3 to begin with, because you really, now Prom Night 3 is the 25-year-old mustache guy that is going to high school senior proms.
You're here to buy the beer and then get out of here.
Wow. Yeah. There you go.
But they don't leave. And then you get Prom Night 3. Return to Hamilton High. or Dance of Death, or The Last Kiss?
I hope it's The Last Kiss, because I don't think there's a Prom Night 4.
I actually have no clue if there's a Prom Night 4, but you are right. This is the right answer. Prom Night 3, ding, ding, ding. The Last Kiss came out in 1990, a full decade after the release of the original film.
Today's inter-school chess club tournament has been canceled. Club members are asked to report to the library and play with themselves.
This is Alex Gray. He's intelligent. He's athletic. He's an average guy.
There's lunch.
See anything you like?
This is Mary Lou Maloney. She's a good sport.
Touchdown!
She's sexy. She's dead. He was looking for something different.
Settle down.
She was looking for something new. But when they got together, it was something deadly.
You really gotta stop killing people.
But even hell hath no fury like Mary Lou Maloney. And on Prom Night, Alex Gray will learn breaking up is hard to do. Prom Night 3, The Last Kiss, a romantic comedy from hell.
Women.
I would say they at least paced themselves, because some of these 80s slasher films, they were rough and ready and relentless. One of the Chucky films, I think maybe parts 2 and 3 had like a 9-month window in between. The spoiler alert, maybe it wasn't fully baked yet.
Yeah.
I think at this point, a lot of the producers knew we've got a hungry audience that knows what these movies are, video stores that got to fill the shelves. Why not release Prom Night 3? Let's keep it going. Maybe a good airbrush VHS cover might trick us to rent it, especially when Prom Night 1, Friday the 13th 3, Nightmare on Elm Street, all of those are gone. Fine. I'll watch Prom Night 3.
Yeah, I mean, there's some legacy there. You know, the Prom Night, the original, not the greatest film, got a, incredible like disco dance sequence between Jamie Lee Curtis and some dude at one point where you're just kind of like, okay.
If by incredible, Pete, you mean incredibly and unnecessarily long, yes.
I was say, yeah, like we need to pad this movie out by like 10 or 15 minutes. So Jamie Lee, go to it. But yeah, I still feel like, at least when I was younger, I felt like that was one, because it was on cable all the time, that it fell into that pantheon of those that original crop of slasher horror movies. Obviously not on par with Halloween, Friday the 13th, but it was in the conversation in the early 80s. And so there's something there to possibly build off of. I mean, I don't think there's any connective tissue between the original and the sequels, but it's never stopped anyone else before.
All right, Pete, we're going to move on to another trend of the 80s, and I think you were a part of this. There were various 900 numbers that you could call, where you could talk to, say, Freddy Krueger, or call a party line and get information about upcoming hits, coming movies.
All the two Corys.
In this case, this might be a bit more sinister, this hotline, because, folks, we're calling 976-EVIL. So the cursed phone line is open again, Pete. This time unleashes out-of-body terror, reality-warping set pieces, a whole new set of victims that maybe shouldn't have called collect. But hey, Evil's here to collect in 976-EVIL 2. And you have 3 options for your subtitles, Pete. The Astral Factor, Voices from Beyond, or Dial of Doom.
How's it not wrong number?
That is a missed opportunity.
I watched it at one point. I don't have any memory of the movie other than I know that Evil Ed from Fright Night starred in it. Astral Factor.
Ding, 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 ding. 976-EVIL 2, The Astral Factor, released in 1991.
Evil has a new number. Welcome to my hell. And the devil has found a new way to reach out and kill someone. 976-EVIL 2. The shocking sequel to the 1988 home video smash is here.
This might be a bridge too far, Pete. I would give 976-EVIL a spin again. 976-EVIL 2 not so much.
Yeah, 976 Evil is the type of movie. It's like a background movie. Like, like you like to do your artwork late at night. I'll do some design, and I need some kind of like background noise. If it's a movie I really want to watch, then I can't do both because I want to concentrate. But if it's like something where I'm kind of like, if I just look up occasionally and kind of get the gist of what's going on here, like 976 Evil fits the bill. Like that can just be playing while I'm concentrating on my design work.
However, Pete, if we did want to connect to the spirit world, you wouldn't have to call collect because you could grab your trusty witchboard. We're going to witchboard, ladies and gentlemen.
Bonnie Catane and Patch from Days of Our Lives, starring in Witchboard.
That's right. Witchboard 2, however, introduces us to a struggling artist that finds a Ouija board, nay, a witchboard. We can't say Ouija. I believe that is trademarked.
Parker Brothers. Well, Milton Bradley, one of the two.
One of the two, yes. One of the game board Monopoly, the big two.
Yeah, because, synonymous with the occult is Milton Bradley and or Parker Brothers.
We get the struggling artist, finds a witchboard, and awakens, surprisingly enough, a possessive presence. And it's one of these movies, Pete. Witchboard 2, The Devil's Doorway, Summoning Evil, or The Witch's Curse.
When I was in college, one of us bought a Ouija board because we're like, oh, this will be fun to like sit around the dorm room and just fuck around with it. And we did. And then somehow I ended up with the Ouija board. I don't know how or why, but I did. And I had it. I took it home with me from Hofstra University, which was 45 minutes from where I lived. And one night, So Bad It's former co-host and frequent Fan2Fan guest John Zemski came over, and we were watching probably did some Blockbuster rental in the basement, and we decided like, yeah, let's screw around with the Ouija board. And so we did, and this was like, it's like after midnight, we're like, the lights are out in the basement, we're doing the thing, and I'm using air quotes here, contacted someone who claimed that they were a vampire, and this is where it gets good. So we started asking, like, well, where do you live? And it kept saying, like, here. I'm like, well, where here? And then it said, like, Tuxedo Drive. I distinctly remember it spelled out Tuxedo Drive. Okay, that sounds pretty ridiculous. My dad was an electrician, and he had back in, this was probably mid-90s, late 90s, before the internet, because he had to drive around Long Island to go to different job sites. He had like this giant map, and like each page like kind of mapped out Long Island. You can kind of like flip through it to kind of, see roads and things like that. So I'm like, and at the back there was, the list of all the streets on Long Island, so you can kind of look up and it'll tell you what page was on. So I'm like, well, now we have to look up and see if Tuxedo Drive even exists. So we did, and it did.
Oh boy.
That proceeded to freak John out. And you won't mind me retelling this, but he's like, I got to go home. He's like, I don't mind telling you, I'm a little bit scared to go to my car. So I'm like, I'll walk you to your car. So I did. And then he went home. And to this day, we still like joke about like, because I had no reference of Tuxedo Drive. So, and it spelled out Tuxedo Drive. So what I'm trying to say is that the Ouija is real, and there's a vampire spirit on Long Island that lives on Tuxedo Drive. So if you're listening and you live on Tuxedo Drive on Long Island, maybe get out, maybe leave. I'm going to guess The Devil's Doorway.
Devil's Doorway, Witchboard 2, dun, 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 1993.
What can I say? I may or may not have consulted the Witchboard to get that answer.
Some secrets should never be learned. Some borders should never be crossed. Some games
Are you here?
should never be played. Witchboard 2, in a place of unholy refuge.
You're obsessed with that Ouija board.
Where a game has evil powers.
What's happening to you, Paige?
I just got tired of
A mystery has forbidden secrets. And one soul
Could you find out how she died?
has taken another. Discover the horror of Witchboard 2. No door will hide you. No weapon will save you.
Who's there?
Not even death
Open the door, and the spirits can step through.
will free you. Brace yourself for a journey Witchboard 2. The Devil's Doorway.
Let's see if we can return back to your old stomping grounds in New York. Specifically, we're going to head to the sewers. And there are very few teenage pizza-loving turtles here. We're talking CHUDs. Underground mutants that get a much more campy sequel in CHUD 2. Now we go from the city to the burbs, but we still get the crazy goopy creatures, the CHUDs, as it were. But only one of these, Pete, is the actual name of CHUD 2. Is it Subterranean Terror, Bud the CHUD, or Rise of the Dwellers?
Yeah, spoiler alert, I know the answer to this one is Bud the CHUD.
Ding, 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 ding.
Beat 'em up! Go, go, go! These are CHUD.
Cannibalistic humanoid underground dwellers. Prepare for horror, laughs, and thrills in this outrageous sequel to the home video hit CHUD, CHUD 2.
Bud the CHUD.
Starring Brian Robbins from Head of the Class, Garrett Graham of Police Academy 6, Robert Vaughn, Bianca Jagger, Larry Linville of MASH, and many other popular stars.
A dead body is nothing to be afraid of.
He's suave.
Are you heterosexual?
He's charming. He's different.
Well, he eats people. I guess that could be interpreted as personality quirk.
He's Bud the CHUD, a half-dead, decomposing humanoid, the result of a military experiment gone haywire. CHUD 2. This CHUD's for you.
Didn't love the original one, but I liked it. And so I was looking forward to more. Whoever I was with when we rented that one, we started watching it and we're like, I don't know what the fuck this is, but this is not as advertised. Although I guess the clue should have been when it was called Bud the CHUD. I think we kind of just self-deluded ourselves into thinking like it's a goofy title, but you know, it's CHUD. And the first one was kind of cool. So let's give a chance on the sequel. And we gave a chance. 5 or 10 minutes.
That's about as much as it needed. At that point, even Daniel Stern, John Hurd knew well enough to steer away from Bud the CHUD and from any other cannibalistic humanoid underground dwellers.
And that's when the CHUDs came at me.
Oh, Homer, of course you'll have a bad impression of New York if you only focus on the pimps and the CHUDs.
All right, Pete, here you go. Last question of Fright or Fiction Subtitle Showdown. We're going to go back to the world of creature features, Pete. A part of the arguably sharksploitation that happened after the success of Jaws in 1975, where we saw countless shark movies that were released, let's be honest, diminishing returns compared to the original Spielberg classic. But sharks were not the only creature. Joe Dante gave us Piranha, and we also got Alligator 2, where we get, of course, a chemically mutated gator that surfaces in a lakeside town, and you get all the original thrills and chills and spills from the original movie and a whole fresh body count in Alligator 2. Your subtitles, Pete. Sewer of Screams, Alligator 2, The Mutation, or Alligator 2, Blood in the Water.
Don't believe I've seen Alligator 2. Again, another one that the comedy part of it, when I first saw it as a kid, right over my head. But my brother and I distinctly remember my brother and I cracking up at the scene when it invades like the ritzy party and the tails like knocking the wedding cake or whatever all over the place, and we were dying watching that. We thought that was the best. There's like the old bald guy that I think was reminding us of the old guy from Benny Hill. It was like in the limo, like trying to get the driver to drive away. Yeah. This is the shit that stays with me. Nothing, that maybe should be in my brain that might actually further my career in adult endeavors. But I have memories of watching that scene of Alligator with my brother, so can't take that away from me.
Robert Forster? Yeah. When you can't get Burt Reynolds, you get like David Jansen or Robert Forster.
Back to the moment at hand here with the sequel title. It's not like Alligator 2 still gatoring, right?
It is not, no. Or Electric Boogaloo, which is the other sequel title you were thinking it might be.
Blood in the Water's reminding me too much. It's too on the nose of like a shark movie, which means that's probably what it is. But I'm going to guess Because you got to go bigger, got to go better. And there's only one way you can do that. Literally only one way that you can do that in a film, and that's by mutating. So I'm going to go Alligator 2, The Mutation.
If the 80s taught us anything, you got to go big or go home. You need a little toxic waste, a little radiation to make that happen. And you are absolutely correct, sir. Alligator 2, The Mutation, the sequel, came out in 1991.
It happened once before. It killed 17 people and terrorized an entire city. The experts said it could never happen again. But experts can be wrong. One renegade cop stands between the corrupt politicians and a devastating massacre. Alligator 2, The Mutation.
Get out of here.
I'm sure there is probably blood in the water, but in this case, Pete, you're right. It is all mutation, all radiation, all the time.
We've done it again, folks. Smashing ratings, breaking hearts, breaking records, and recording another all-star episode of the Fan2Fan Podcast.
Hope everyone enjoyed our subtitle showdown, and let's have a round of applause for our studio audience. Yeah! Thanks to our lovely and dedicated sponsor, Ghoul Be Gone Pool Cleaning Services, wardrobe provided by Silk Streets of Hollywood, purveyors of only the finest menswear. Portions of this program not affecting the outcome of the competition have been edited and recreated. Contestants are not briefed in advance regarding the movies and review material or elements of the game prior to taping. Contestants must meet eligibility requirements to receive announced prices. Thank you.